of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, bless our deliberations today and help us to serve you through our decisions that we make for the best outcomes for all of the residents of Adams County. Grant us wisdom and hope for a positive discussion and positive decision. We pray this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Okay. Steve, have you had a chance to look at the minutes from November 19th? Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes. Okay, I'll second that. Motion carries. Also, we do not have Steve Bailey with us this morning. He is running an errand for Adams Central School as he has been filming the games, and so he is working on a project for that. So today, as far as commissioners go, we're working on quality, not quantity. I'll second that.
We got a quorum, that's what counts.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Tony, what do you have for us today?
We have first the Allied Weekly Health Insurance claims. Those are in the amount of $49,267.74. I verified the claimants, and you have medical $20,397.35. Prescription $28,870.39 for a total of $49,267.74.
All right, thank you. You have any questions? Make a motion. Okay. I'll second that motion to approve that claim as presented.
Okay. We have, I passed out to you before the meeting, the monthly report submitted by Inspector Dan Hackman for the weights and measures.
Looks like this was gasoline, kerosene, and diesel best month. Any questions on that?
Making a motion, we accept Dan Hackman's report.
Okay. I'll second that. Put that in the record.
Okay, we also have the Allied monthly health insurance claim. And that's in the amount of $68,775.85. That's all the administrative fees and so forth. That is $68,775.85.
All right. Any questions on that?
Motion, we accept that report.
All right. Second that motion.
Okay. And then we have accounts payable you should have received via email. This is a pretty good size number this time, but a lot of that is because the jail bond payment. And as Paul probably knows, there's a pretty sizable Brooks Construction claim in there, like well over $1 million. So we had some of those big ones in there to make the total $2,676,903.80. $2,676,903.80. There's some ARPA things in here as well. Vehicles and so forth.
Make a motion, we accept the claims.
All right. I'll second that motion. Thank you.
The biggest ones ever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big things all in the
Wayne
same.
Brooks in there, yeah.
That was a big one. Yeah, two big ones there. Okay. And finally, I have the payroll AP claims. It's the benefits and so forth. In the amount of $335,203.40. $335,203.40.
All right. Any questions on that?
Nope, make a motion, we
Okay. Second to approve that claim for payroll. AP.
Doing my part to help you get out quicker, I'm done.
All right, Nate, what do you have for us today?
Updates on two bridge projects, Bridge 58, that's the one 5 north to east of 4 west. Work was completed last week and the bridge opened to traffic back on Thursday. So working on getting the final invoices on that project, get that paid out of this year's budget, but that one was opened up last week. Then also Bridge 150, that's 1050 south, east of Geneva, east of 27 on what was old 116. Work was completed last week and the road opened to traffic on Friday. So the final volume of aggregate that we ended up, or the flowable fill we put in to fill the groundhog holes totaled 6 or 8 cubic yards under the roadway approach. So that's how much they had
That's
dug
a
out.
lot of groundhog.
So for my, yeah, that's a lot of work. You've been busy for a while now. So
Yeah.
I put a little more in the estimate, but we ended up pumping about 8 yards underneath that. They poured the approach slab so they could pump it through, but they used a pH grout, which was very, very successful. I wish it was a little bit warmer. Wasn't ideal weather for it, but when you're pumping concrete underneath the slab, I'm not too concerned about the finish of it. So
Put gravestones up for them groundhogs you buried.
well, I'm sure they'll put a little paw prints on the side for each one. Next spring, they're gonna come back and their summer home is gonna be filled in. So it seemed to work out pretty well. We came in under the estimate, so I'm hoping to use that or a similar system in the future as we find issues, if we can do it before we have the slabs failing on us. But that was a good test, and I think we'll continue to follow that sort of system in the future. So won't be able to do them all right away, but as they become notorious, I've got a map and I'm highlighting bridges where we have issues with the groundhogs. So where we've got approach slabs, it's much easier to fill in that with that flowable fill than it is to tear the whole approach out and then pour it all over again.
Is that both sides of the bank or?
He had both sides. The tunnel did not connect underneath, but he had one access underneath the approach, another one on the north side that was pretty big. We were able to core that in, and then the slug of the core fell into the hole. We were able to get back out so we could pump from there. And then we did 2 more cores on the south side.
That's just a lot of concrete for
Yeah.
groundhog holes.
Yep, about 216 cubic feet. So that's you can work out the math as far as what you're putting into that. So, then from there, Bridge 27, the inspection contract. I had mentioned before that NDOT approved the agreement, but as it turned out, I never brought it to you to sign. So, I have it there for you, Stan, but it will need to be signed by you and Steve and then attested by.
Is that the consulting contract?
That's that consulting contract. So that is NDOT standard form. Once you've signed that, then I can send it to NDOT, and then NDOT will give us a parallel agreement for the grant funds that go along with it. So NDOT's already moved some of the excess money for inspection because this is less than what we had initially budgeted. So the grant money's been moved to construction, but it is for not to exceed $155,000.
Looks like just a one signature page.
Yeah, just one signature page on that. So we'll get that turned over to NDOT. They can start the process and get the other agreements in place. You'll probably have to vote on approving the signatures, but
You need a motion on this?
yeah,
Make a motion.
Second.
because I don't think you've taken action on the agreement yet. Nope. Then next item there is just bridge deck cleaning RFQ, just request for quotes. I've been working on options on how to clean the bridge decks before we seal them with a penetrating sealer. Looking at options on whether we would try to buy equipment, staff up, training, or if I can try to contract that work out. We have a list of about 20 bridges that we're looking at trying to seal in 2025 with our crews. We've got the equipment for that, but the cleaning ahead of time is kind of hit or miss as far as how our options were going to work. So what I'd like to do with your permission is to submit out a request for quotes for some local contractors to power wash the tops of a number of these bridges. There's about 20 of them for 25. I want to see where those numbers come in. I've got money in our budget for preventative maintenance. This would fall under that. My goal would be then, if those are good numbers, then we'll contract that to a certain firm for 2025. I may look at putting that into our annual bids in 2026, but for now, we'll just do it as a standalone kind of contract.
If you contract or subcontract that out, how big of an issue is it for scheduling? Because I assume that you would have to seal the deck pretty shortly after it was.
Once we power wash it, because these bridges have never been cleaned. Essentially, it's, and they for a 60-year life, they never get cleaned essentially, unless you do a rehab project there, and that becomes a part of it. So for us to go through and clean the salts off, clean the debris off, this holding water, you've got stuff growing on the bridges at different points where there's so much debris. And in the south, you've got horse manure in different areas. Anywhere it can pack, it will. So anything that'll hold moisture on is just bad for the concrete. So the goal is to try to clean these off before we seal them. So we can't tackle all the bridges, but if we got a regular program of doing it, and anytime.
But I mean,
once
it's
a
not
week-
like they could come in and clean 5 bridges and then 2 or 3 months later you come back and seal them.
Oh, that wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Yeah, we'd be fine with them doing it. It's just I'd like to have them clean beforehand.
Will this extend the life of the bridge, do you think?
It's not a bad thing. I mean, honestly, it's like vacuuming your carpet, only when your roof gets replaced. It's kind of what we've been doing right now. So you just buy a new house instead of cleaning it. So it's not a significant improvement to it, but it's going to make the sealant work better. And for the public, your bridges are going to look newer and nicer. I mean, it honestly will be more of a pride thing, like waxing your car. So.
Well, that would be the only advantage to having the equipment and staff in-house is you could.
You can do it whenever.
Right.
And we certainly considered it. I discussed it with Brad. Unfortunately, just because of the staffing issues, certainly I think it would give council more heartburn trying to staff up for that sort of work. It'd be good to do it. I think it'd be a good service for us if it's successful and we want to do it faster. Or if you look at it and say, hey, we want you to do more of these things, then it would make some sense to try to consider that, bring it to council. But I think right now for us, we need to kind of show that this makes
Well, and
good
the other
sense.
thing is I assume that once you get them power washed, cleaned and sealed, you're not going to have to do it again for a while.
Yep. I mean, it's going to be at best, it'd be once every 10 years. I wouldn't look at doing these any faster than that.
So you're gonna
So-
reseal all these bridges that you power wash?
Yep. So that's the target right now is the 20 you're seeing here, the 20 that we're looking to seal with our crews. Follow it up with that.
Well, it sure sounds like it makes sense to subcontract, and I know you've been talking to some firms to find the most economical.
Yep.
Bids on
It's
this.
just trying to get some good pricing on that. And I think we've got, I know at least one contractor's very excited about that option. It's just, I've got to look for others that are saying, yeah, well, this is good filler work for us, or maybe it's good target projects for us. It's just making sure that they know the safety expectations and what that level of service we're asking for.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
so
Very good.
with that, I don't need a vote on it. I'll go request the quotes and then I'll come back with some numbers and then you can take some action on that at that point. So,
Very good.
and then, that's the end of my stuff, but I'm here with the 700 South bids with, all of that. So,
Paul, you want to come up with a sharp knife?
I already opened it.
Oh,
you got them,
I got him prepped.
you got them, pour them open there, Tim, so we're set to go. So if you're ready.
Let's, let me run down through our other stuff first, if you don't mind, Nate.
That's fine.
First of all, I passed out some papers for you. Last week, we opened bids on paint striping. Took them under advisement there. We went back, looked at all the specs, looked at all the numbers, made sure everything matched. We advised that we use air marking to do our projects there, and their bid total was $129,177.14.
do you have a copy of this, John?
I give you a copy.
And this will be next summer,
This will be in the springtime.
springtime.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we,
That's kind of why we did it this time of year, is try to get early on, so we hadn't.
Or air marketing as you suggested.
Very good. I'll second that.
One other thing that, before we go into opening bids for 700 South, is as every year around Thanksgiving, I pass out the Shake Your Mailbox that we try to get everybody out in the public to do, to go out and check your mailbox, make sure that it's not damaged or rotted off or anything. So when we come by with the snow plows, we're not knocking them over with the snow. But just kind of a friendly reminder that we start doing around Thanksgiving. So I give one to all the press members there so they can publish that. So
Very good.
now we'll move on to opening the bids for 700 South Drive.
Alright, we go through. First one is from Cobalt Civil LLC out of Winchester, Indiana. See their bid proposal there. Looks like they've got the addendums, all three addendums are identified, Form 96 is there. And I'm just looking. Is there? And then there, looks like their bid bond as well. Can you verify? Cobalt Civil's bid is for $1,442,260.41. 1442260.41. Next is from Morphe Construction, Inc. out of Indianapolis.
How do you spell that? That listed here.
Morphe, Morphey. Indy, yep. There's their bid. There's the acknowledgements, the addendum. It's like you verify and Form 96 are filled out. And there's their bid bond as well. Yep. All right, their bid is for $1,765,000 even. 1765000.
And then what's Morphe's last and full time of Morphe what?
Morphe Construction, Inc.
Construction.
Okay. Next is from Brooks Construction out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. The bid. Here's their bid bond. Let's see. Acknowledgements of the addendums are there. And it appears that that is their full Form 96 as well. All right. Brooks Construction bid is for $1,481,110. 1481110. Last bid here is from Fleming Excavating out of Decatur. Itemized bid. There's the acknowledgements, the addendums. I've got the financial statement as well. And then I believe that's their bid bond that just flipped across there. But we'll go through that again. Fleming Excavating's bid. Sure, I'm looking at the right form here. It's a copy. All right. Their bid is for $1,397,476.04. 1397476.04. That's the last of the bids.
So you recommended to take them under advisement?
Yep, yes, please. Would like to put together a bid tab on those, make sure all the unit prices add up, but then we'll bring that back next week.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to all the contractors as well.
I got a few more things yet.
Okay.
You can get.
I'll get out of here.
You got me.
It's 4 minutes.
Just a reminder for December 3rd, we'll be opening bids on the distributor and the equipment on the next tandem dump truck. And also, I didn't know, were you gonna bring up the buggy plate meeting that we
Yeah, get a notice published.
get a notice published? We had talked about last week for December the 17th from 6 to 7 PM. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. And we got our reservations made at the senior center in Bern. That's all taken care of there, so just bringing that up for
When was that again?
December 17th. The senior center in Bern, 6 to 7 PM.
So it's just for the buggy plate thing?
Yes, sir.
What time did they,
6 to 7 PM.
6 to 7 PM on the 17th?
Yes,
That's the Burns Senior Center.
yes. I believe that's it then.
All right. Very good. Thank you,
We get
Paul.
that, Paul. That'll be here.
That's a Tuesday. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank
All right, and I think Rick is busy. He's not gonna be here. Ed, would you like to come up?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll be quick. All taxes from all the banks and escrow companies have been collected and posted. Last week, we were at 91.56%. As of this morning, we're at 95.67%. So we got a big chunk in with all of that. We're still getting a few that trickled in here at the front desk. Courtesy letters on everything that's delinquent will be going out after the first of the year. And I expect a big part of the proceeds that are still due will be coming in after that time. But we're really good at this point at 95.67. We'll be well over 97% after the courtesy letters go out. And, I hope to tickle 98, 99%.
Is that the average typically?
We're actually above average from previous years. The last 2 years have been really good. The ones prior to that, if we would get 95, 96, that would be considered a good year. We've been well over that. So, of course, I'll give you updates as they come along. On November the 12th, we had, that was our tax due date. That was a Tuesday. We were closed on that Monday. We come back and we had some really strong issues in the office with 3 of our computers weren't working, including the 2 at the front desk. It was due to the transfer switch and the big generator and the whole thing, whole shebang. It wasn't just my office, it was several offices throughout the building. Kathy let Mike Brown know right away. He came in early and got to work on it, did not leave the office for 2 full hours while satellites were connecting and everything else. They got it all worked out. But between Mike, Kathy, Kim, and myself, we went over and above, taking care of it. It was a very busy day, as you might expect, for the last due date. And I got a letter that I wrote for you gentlemen. I have it on record, and that'll speak for itself. I have a CD that's coming to term tomorrow, and I'm getting bids from our 4 banks on CDs. The rates aren't the greatest, so I might just put that into savings where I could get more money. And I gave an updated info sheet to you on some of the financial stuff. That's really all I have this morning.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Well, you never know what kind of issues are gonna come up, but kudos to you and your staff. I mean, who've already taken on extra work during the spring and fall tax season to avoid bringing an extra part-time person in. And, the efficiency during things when they're going the way they're supposed to. But when something like this comes up, especially on a tax due day,
Yeah.
because I know I came in that day to pay my taxes and you just handled it efficiently and timely. And Mike was in there working through the computer issues, so,
It's never a good day to have a computer system go out.
yeah.
But that was an especially rough time for us. But everybody just jumped in and we got through it. Took a while, but we got through it. And I'm just very happy, and I just want to let y'all know.
Yeah, that was a testimony to your staff and the IT department also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Colton's not here. Mark's not here.
Still here.
Mark, did you have anything to go over?
No, I'm just working on this notice for the hearing.
Do we have anything up later?
Yeah, I think Clayton's got something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Tony, do you have a copy of that agreement?
I do. Is that the thing that they approved last week that he needs to sign?
Well, I mean, they approved. Good example, but I just want to go over it again quick. So briefly, last week, you all approved the auditor's office entering into a limited services contract with Lynn Geels to come in and take up some of the work while one of the members of the office is out. So this is an agreement reflecting the same, the scope of work, transferring deeds, data entry for tax assessment, splitting documents for assessor's office, doing homestead deductions, contract payments, $25 per hour, which will be processed by submitting a claim. Contractor will work at the request of the auditor as needed basis. And then obviously the last provision is just independent contractor and indemnification clause, meaning that the independent contractor is not an employee of the county. So
It's when that is a county employee, are they bonded? Is that employee bonded or not necessarily?
Well, she's not an employee anymore.
Right, but I mean, with Amy doing that job, I mean, is that a position in that office? There's no bonding associated?
I don't believe so.
No.
Okay,
but
all right,
I'm
I guess-
bonded in the office.
okay.
I would just request a motion from you guys to approve the contract and then obviously stand and sign it.
So move. Second.
The second thing, I'm kind of bringing this on behalf of the sheriff. He presented our office with a contract, which is from Guardian RFID. It's a subscription contract for Command Cloud subscription. From what he described to me, it's basically a cloud service for their security systems. To give you a brief synopsis that's given in this contract, the system itself is comprised of hardware support systems and web-based software as a service platform to deliver a wide range of inmate management monitoring and tracking solutions. So they're going to use it for various things of that nature. I'm sure he could talk about it more at length. He provided it to our office for review just from a legal standpoint. As to the terms of the contract, I don't see anything wrong with this other than the initial term is for 3 years, and then there's an auto renewal of that term for an additional 3 years. So I think my only advice and our office's advice would be if you can approve that he has authority to sign this, contingent upon him reworking that with them to any auto renewal should not be, there should either not be an auto renewal or it should only be for 1 year.
Right. Typically in something like that, I would kind of expect to see him run it through the IT committee. You think so, or you think we're? I don't.
That's perfectly fine to tell him
I
to do
don't
too. Again, he just asked that I bring it to you because
Yeah.
he is not here today.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like something that would involve them, but maybe if you talk to him about the auto renewal, ask him maybe
Okay.
what
I mean, I'll just
he
take,
thinks about that.
I'll take back to him that proposed revision anyway, prior to you guys consenting to it, and then just ask him also to put it in front of the IT committee so we can
Yeah,
talk more at
see what he
length,
says.
at one of these meetings. That's perfectly fine with me.
Because I don't know what the interaction is with our own IT department.
Yeah, check with Mike.
Definitely.
Hey, Clay, what is the amount of money for this thing?
I don't.
Figure out that.
I'm unsure at this point, but again, I'll be represented or represented, whatever, after it goes through IT, so I'll have to more lots of coverage. And then they're not approving it.
Disregard my email.
Yeah, just an introduction, and I've got a couple things to do on it, so I don't have enough for you.
Mark, you want to come on up?
Morning.
We got an open desk over here.
All the room you need.
Two subdivisions, they're both pretty straightforward. Particular one is going from a single lot to two lots. Both still big. This is a Barger Brothers First Subdivision, and it is just off of 700 West, 500 North. And they're taking this one piece, put a line through it, and making a 20 and a 40. 20. Access to 500.
Second? I'm gonna take a real break here.
You're gonna miss me in a month.
I'll still see you around.
Are you out of office or what?
Yeah, that's right, you're out. That's right. Nothing doing it.
Oh, look at all that there. Man, that's a lot of handwriting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see. I still got your number.
So this single lot here is turning into three.
And Joyce told me. Okay, so it's this one here. It's turning into this. Where's that at?
It's on 450 North,
That's
600 East.
probably a good request.
600 east.
Yeah, thank you.
That's good. 20.1, I can't, where are all these, where are the other ones here?
20.1, 3.84, and 2.15.
2.15, I didn't, I couldn't read all the different numbers there.
Can I sign that since?
Yeah. Pretty sure he's gonna second it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'll see you. I've got 3 more. She'll be around.
Yeah, well, hopefully you guys stick around, I can get that. See how that goes.
Okay.
She sends stuff to my house now.
Oh, really?
Stuff.
Sorry about that.
No, we're good.
I made the motion and signed it. I was just waiting for you to second it. If you don't second it, I'm in trouble.
It's, this single lot,
Okay.
is turning into 1, 2, well, I will call them, there's 3 lots.
All right.
They're all over 2 acres. That was 2.15, 3.8.
Very good. I'll second that.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Mark be doing an issue.
That's all I got.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
We, well, I can tell you this, you probably know it anyway, Mark probably talked to you about it. The deadline for the house to be removed was Sunday, technically, so that didn't happen.
Yeah, I saw it was still there today.
Yep, it's still there. So next step is, we met last week, Thursday, and we're gonna put a bid package together, maybe already did. I don't know.
No,
There's gonna be a bid
well, we're
package.
gonna do that, but also get a court order.
Yeah, 'cause she's getting a whole fund with me.
As an
Stuff coming to my
extra
house, things like that, so.
I mean, I don't know how you need to handle that in your department, not only with the department itself, but with the individual personnel that are being harassed.
Well,
I don't know what you do, what do you do with that?
the last week it happened on a phone call pretty bad. And I did tell the girls, once I knew that happened, they explained what went on. I said, don't, and they were on the phone for like 20 minutes. I said, don't. As soon as it starts going south, hang it.
Yep.
They'll be
Or
buying
even
nothing.
before that, once the caller's identified, just
If she's gonna ask a normal question, you can give a normal answer, but if it starts, just hang up.
she'll call other departments.
We did.
and transfer.
We did check our emergency buttons that exist, and we, just to make sure, and they actually weren't working, so they did fix us with some new batteries.
Is that anything to a point where?
It did question, well, that's generally up to the individuals. I don't know. The question is whether the county can apply for a protective order for an individual. Now, maybe we can apply, for, offices or employees in our offices.
I
That's
mean,
something.
like even your office has been affected.
Yeah, well, that's something we're looking at, so we talked to Pat, Hess about that as well.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, we certainly want to watch out for that.
I'm ready.
Employees.
Threatening you guys too. She knows where you live. She's gonna be like,
All right, very good. Okay, Colton, you want to come on up?
Sure. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Just here to provide some updates on the EDC as we're getting to the year's end here, and I know that you all requested that. From a business perspective, things are going really well. For most of our businesses, of course, not as good as maybe a couple years ago, but still in a solid position. Nobody's hurting too bad at this point. Unemployment rate has jumped a little bit, a percentage point from our annual rate.
What is our unemployment rate?
So in September, which is the latest number that I have, was 3.7.
Okay,
So our 2023.
so it did jump over.
Yeah, our 23 average rate was 2.7 for the year, and so it has jumped a percentage point. We've been over 3%, really in between 3 and 4. It jumped up, I think in August, just above 4, but for the majority of the year, it's been between 3 and 4%.
Are county businesses cutting back? Is that kind of,
Yeah, I think production has just slowed with a lot of them. It's plateaued a little
so
bit.
they're laying people off?
Honestly, we saw a little bit more of that in late 23 than we have in 24. Not by a significant margin.
But I mean, since our unemployment numbers jumped, I figured somebody. must
Yeah,
be-
certainly. I think that stemmed more from late 23 layoffs than any in 24. Because you saw it kind of start to trend that way at the beginning of 24 and it stayed above 3%. But for the most part, 3% is considered or full employment. So if you're at 3% unemployment, it's usually pretty good. So
Yeah, that's still not a bad number.
Yeah, when you look
Still
at
not a bad.
historically, we've always done good, but like 08, 09, 10, and even in 2020, it was 8, 9, 10% for several months in those periods. So certainly slower than what we were, but still not a point where things are we're in dire straits or anything. People can still find gainful employment. I think some of it is you had some layoffs, but you still have some businesses who are hiring. Country Butcher's hiring. Champion Homes has a sign out that they're hiring. Other businesses hire smaller amounts here and there. Rather than needing 20, they may need 3, 4 at a time.
How are we doing as far as startups, new business startups?
We've had a few, certainly on the smaller side, no startup from an industrial perspective. We're not seeing much of that, but small business wise, we're seeing more of that. We've done an RLF loan for a small business. We're in talks of another one, some retail things. I'm sure you've seen Starbucks and some of the other conversations. So we have seen some more smaller retail startup.
Any expansions?
None of any significant measure, not a ton of job creation. You do have a few that expanded, but both expanded late last year, early this year with their new warehouse down there, got it online.
And those ordinances.
Again, we've seen
17. All right.
not
that's
as
what I
many
need to say.
expansions, but since we had attracted or expanded, kind of get ramped up like Country Butcher earlier this year. So, but you also see that offset by more of those leisure industries like RVs, boats, furniture that kind of slow down a little bit when inflation's up, disposable income, people just don't have as much. So it kind of offset a little bit.
How about housing? I know
Mhm.
we've contracted for the housing study a couple years ago.
Yep. And
With
that,
the promise of a lot of opportunity.
yeah, so
residential one.
that contract is over at this point. We completed that 2-year contract with them. Out of that, we've got 2 projects, we'll say, that are in process. One in Decatur, one in Bern. Both are kind of in that design engineering phase, figuring things out with the
Is that
developer.
one indicator with the city?
Yeah, it's the one that they're working on, yeah. But
Yeah, that's
those
it.
were identified, as well as a handful of others that aren't quite being developed yet, were identified out of that process. Of looking at the market analysis, understanding what type of housing do we need, and addressing that with landowners, developers to say, okay, who's got acreage that they'd like to develop. So we've got a handful of sites that we're aware of that have some development opportunities. You've also seen the continued development of some of the existing subdivisions that were already there when we started the process that just continue to grow. Along with that, we've also seen kind of this year, we moved into a phase after understanding, doing the market analysis, understanding what we needed. Then we moved into having some sites identified, working with them to kind of get that moving. And then now we've moved into the Club 720, which you all authorized, I think it was in the spring of this year, early summer of this year, which is that down payment assistance program, where you said we could offer that here in Adams County. We've got 20 plus individuals signed up for that. Who've identified themselves as, yes, I'd like to, be in Adams County. Either I'm already here or I'm going to relocate here. We'd like that down payment assistance. It's just waiting for them, with some of them waiting for the stock that they need, right? Because not everybody wants the same thing, and so it's waiting for the stock. So we do have some housing in process of development that, I think our goal of having shovels in the ground and, homes built, I think too, also 2 years ago when we started the process, the interest rates were what they were. Inflation hadn't gone up. So we were still in kind of that phase of, okay, we could do this and it would move pretty quickly. Certainly the economy has impacted that, but I still think we're on the right track and have identified sites. Those are being moved forward, and hopefully we get those to fruition in 25, 26.
Because I know that was an investment that we made.
You did.
So,
Yep.
the other investment that we made as commissioners is in the child care
Mhm.
coordinator.
Yep.
Where are we at with that?
Yeah, so we hired Ashley in February. She started in February of this year. She's taken that and running with it. She's done a lot of great work, working with a lot of our local businesses. She's been very engaged with FCC and their work with Grace Church down there and their child care. She's met with a handful of other employers as well as providers. She's doing a lot of work to help them kind of navigate.
Any additional capacity for child care through?
Yeah, so Grace Bible Church, or I don't know if it's Bible Church, Grace Church of some sort, down in Bern had capacity with their partnership with FCC. Actually, has been involved in that conversation. That was some of more conversations I was having with them that then led to Ashley kind of stepping in when she started and me stepping away. So she's done that. Other than that, I don't think she's added a ton of capacity this year, but a lot of it, I didn't expect her to come in and, develop 100 seats. She's got to get to know providers. She's got to get to meet with employers to understand their needs. She's got to kind of wrap her arms around it and understand. There's also the regional effort that's going on that she's a part of. That is a tri-share program that's going to be launched here in 2025. That employers can take part of it. So she's working with employers to make them aware of that, understand what that looks like for them. And that would be the employer paying a third of the cost. The parent would pay a third of the cost, and then it's subsidized by some money that the state gave Northeast Indiana, $30 million. They gave some of that to go to this tri-share program. So she's working hard in that. We went through a branding process, and so she's really hit the ground running. And I would expect some bigger things moving into next year. Now
Well, that'd be interesting to see some numbers on an actual benefit to families and businesses.
Yeah, I think the benefit's already there because they have somebody to go to if they have questions and they're looking for childcare and they don't know what's available, what it costs, how to connect. She's already there. She's already connecting with families, being out in the community and doing that. So there's already direct benefit. I would caution us in any regard to say that the only way this is successful is if we create 100 seats. Because yes, you may solve that problem, there may be 100 seats, but where are the teachers who are going to teach those 100 kids, right? So it's not just we create seats and we've won. Well, you can create seats or build a facility, but you may not have the staff to fill it. So you're not any better off. Or it may be too expensive that families can't partake in it anyway. So it's a multifaceted.
And at some point, we have to be able to gauge the success of the investment.
Sure, absolutely. I would just caution to looking just directly at numbers for that, because that's not going to be the ultimate determining factor of whether it's successful or not. But certainly, we want to see more seats created.
Yeah.
That's one of the goals, but that's not the only thing that we're going to use to say this was a success or not.
The other thing, it sounds like you're in the process of, and I don't know if it's an actual tourism bureau or tourism director, or I don't know.
Yeah,
what's
at
involved.
this point, she's just a staff member on our team,
Okay.
but it is a tourism, we just call it a tourism initiative. The ultimate goal is that it is a standalone thing that she's doing that is a visitors bureau for Adams County. Most counties have that. I think we're one of a handful in the state that don't have or doesn't have a visitors bureau, or they call them CVB, Convention Visitors Bureau. And so we needed to start an effort, but to just create an entity and have the funds to pay for that fully, we just didn't have that capacity.
A
So we
lot of
started as a
times,
staff person that hopefully will grow to that, but we've got to start that, get awareness, get events out there, make sure people understand what we're trying to do so that we can build up to that.
A lot of times with that type of effort, I think it's supported by an additional food, beverage, and tourism tax. Is that something you're thinking?
Certainly. Well, I mean,
Because
I
we've
think,
always resisted that.
yeah, I think that I would say a conversation for a later date potentially.
Yeah.
I think my goal is to build it without doing that, kind of build, it's somewhat build the justification so that we can look at it and say, this is important, it does have an impact. Now we've got to find a way to fund it. I would rather do that, and say, here's the impact we've had, than just come to you and ask for money to say, we want to do this thing, can you give us money? Well, let's show you the impact first in this specific scenario, and then find a way to completely fund that moving forward. And it can be fun. Communities do it differently. Some communities have innkeeper's tax. Some communities have food and beverage tax. Some communities, they just do it through private, whatever asset that we have. Let's just say Pine Lake would pay in to be a part of this visitors bureau, and that's how they fund it, through entities kind of paying to be a part of. So, I mean, it can be structured however.
Yeah, because I guess for that, I certainly wouldn't be in favor of
Sure.
innkeeper's tax or food and beverage tax.
Sure.
Or something.
Again, we're one of a handful of counties in the state that don't have that, because it's not a tax on the residents. As a resident of Adams County, I wouldn't pay that tax.
Sure.
It's a tax on somebody who's visiting, right? Just like you pay that tax if you go stay at a hotel in Indianapolis or in Fort Wayne. You're going to pay that extra 5% tax, 3%, whatever you set. But as a resident of those communities, you're not paying that tax on your monthly bill. That's not something that you pay. It's just if you're a visitor staying there.
Unless they do it through a food and beverage tax.
Right, that would be specific to innkeepers, because that's what you said, but food and beverage would probably be slightly different.
So, yeah. Well,
But that can be structured again, again, conversation for a later time. We kind of want to build the justification first.
well, I
Here's
just
the
asked
impact it's
because it
having.
sounded like it had already happened, and so I was curious.
Oh,
As far as the new employee.
yeah, we've hired
Yeah.
the
that's
new
what I-
employee. She's part-time, but we've absorbed her into our annual budget, what we have, not any sort of new funding mechanism.
All right, any other questions?
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. As always, I always throw this out there. Please come stop in the office if you have questions. We're there. We're always open. Make sure you stop in and ask. Happy to have a conversation anytime.
All right, thanks for
Thanks.
coming in. Shannon, did you have anything for us? Okay. All right, anything else from the general public? Steve, anything else?
I don't, do you?
I do not mark anything finances wise. I don't know if you talked to Jason.
No, I have, yeah, I sent a pretty lengthy email and request out to him last week, so he hasn't got back to me yet, but hopefully we'll hear something. Probably next week, what we'll do is bring to you the proposed ordinance for the horse-drawn vehicle fees and get that introduced. Okay, so then we'll introduce it and then we'll publish the notice for the hearing and the meeting to be down at Burn, so.
Good. Anything on the mud road? I know you've been working on the drainage, you know, kind of working from the back end in towards the road, you know, and that was required some easements for drainage.
For 800?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I asked Mike to get me specifications for the tile size so I can send that out to the owners. I think he indicated to me, trying to remember, it was an 18-inch maybe? I think he was thinking.
Yeah, I don't remember.
The
The
16.
other thing, do we have control of that ditch now?
We do.
So we can, okay.
Yep.
So that's good. So we're working
Actually,
back from the railroad, back through the ditch, back up through the drainage tile and.
yeah, well, I sent an email to Mike last week about getting together and so I can get the plans out to the landowners. We can acquire the right of way, so
Okay.
I'll get with them.
Let's see.
Now, on the 17th, I've got to decide how we're going to advertise that, I think. Because it looks to me like the fees are 120 right now. Yep. Okay. So that was set in 2017.
Well, they went into effect.
Yeah, it was, the ordinance was actually adopted and then there was an amendatory ordinance because I think we added something to deal with, if they had sold a buggy and then bought a new one, and so transfers. Yeah, transfers. So we amended the ordinance, but that was 2017 also. So that's when it was put in place. So we'll get, there's a couple different ways to do it, but I think next week we'll at least introduce the ordinance and then we'll decide if it's on the 17th, it's just a public meeting or whether we actually want to hold that as the public hearing or not. Quite honestly, we could hold the public hearing,
Because it does require an actual hearing.
Yes.
A public hearing.
and we may just hold a public hearing at one of your regular meetings.
Okay.
And then after that public hearing, then we can adopt it. I think that's probably the better path. So, but we'll still advertise the 17th as a public meeting to discuss the proposed ordinance that you've introduced.
Okay.
And so we'll go ahead and get the ordinance introduced next Tuesday probably. I won't be here, but I think Clayton will
So
be.
is it anything, we're not necessarily ready to put any notice in the paper yet, though?
Oh, no, we're going to put a notice of the public meeting
Okay.
in the paper.
But I mean, as far as for Jim and Eric's purposes today,
I don't know. Yeah, we're going to advertise a public meeting. Yeah, we're going to advertise, we're going to advertise, it's separate advertisement. Okay, so they can announce, this is their news, so they can print it as news, but I'm still going to publish a notice of public meeting
Gotcha.
to discuss the ordinance that you're introducing. And that's what'll be on the 17th. Because then on this, because I don't think Steve is going to be able to be there on the 17th.
yeah, that's right.
So,
Okay.
Which
You know,
Steve?
yeah, Steve Bailey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the two of you will be, so.
I think Steve Bailey's gonna have a Florida therapy session. but-
So you'll have an ordinance next week and just introduce.
Just to introduce, yes.
Just, yeah. That'll be after the first of the year then before the ordinance is adopted.
Before it's adopted.
And the 17th is just a listening session to hear what people.
Just a
have to say.
present.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them know.
To get any comments.
Yep,
All right. Very good. Well, thanks for working on that.
yep. I'm finding all of our old stuff that we did here on it.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.